Good morning. It is Monday, January 29th, 2024. It's about 5 a.m. on the East Coast. Where I am, it is like 11 a.m., I think. Anyway, I did a video on Saturday, and it was really long. And then I got on an airplane, flew a long way, arrived at my destination, and said, I don't like that video. I'm going to do it differently. So I didn't publish it, and I'm redoing it here this morning. And what I've decided is we're going to probably break it into 3 videos. So this is the first of 3, I think, maybe. But anyway, I'm gonna get to the salient points here in this one. You should come away from this with hopefully some more knowledge, some ideas, some things to think over at least. Yeah. So I was in Western Canada on Tuesday, I think. Tuesday or Wednesday. Then I was in Texas. Then I was in Florida. And now I'm somewhere in Europe at an undisclosed location at a forward operating base deep inside of Europe. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I didn't sleep last night. I think Wednesday night I didn't sleep either. So it's been a fun week. But this video is really important. And my commitment to making this before the market opened on Monday was high. It is high. So here I am. But expect more from me on Hercules later this week. Maybe after I sleep a little bit, get my bearings. I'm going to turn off the webcam just because the backdrop here isn't fantastic, and you really don't need to see my face. You want to see the screen, the words, and the maps. So I'm going to turn it off. So let's get right into it. The disclaimer, forward-looking statements. This is important because I'm going to make a lot of forward-looking statements in this video, a lot of speculation, a lot of uncertainties in this situation with exploration in general, with future events, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of risk. And junior mining stocks are very, very high risk, and they can easily lose 100% of their value. So please be aware it's your money and your responsibility. So just want to be clear there that I'm going to be making statements about future events, future possibilities, a lot of uncertainties. So take it with a grain of salt. Do your own due diligence. This is not investment advice. This is not like after watching this video, you shouldn't wanting to buy or sell anything. Maybe you have more to think about. Maybe, you feel stronger about something that you already kind of thought, or maybe it's going to totally change your mind on something. I don't know. But this is definitely not a recommendation to buy or sell any security. So let's get into it, and why do I make these videos? Well, I make them, number one, I make them for me because I learn by organizing my thoughts and having to communicate it in a coherent and, articulate way to a bigger audience. And so, number one, I do it for me, test some of my ideas, put them up to scrutiny, get feedback. I think that's the most important part of why I do these. The second reason is I find it interesting. I find this stuff to be interesting. I wouldn't do it if I didn't like it, okay, if I didn't find it interesting. And in this particular case, I find it quite stimulating. It's like solving a mystery. Like I liked Sherlock Holmes as a kid. I liked Tintin. It's like solving a case, like a crime. Putting the pieces of the puzzle together. The history of the Earth, the formation of the Earth. It is very interesting stuff. So now I'm going to go fast because there's a lot of stuff I got to get to. There's nothing like the thrill of discovery, and I firmly feel that way. There's nothing like the thrill of discovery. It is a rush. It is really cool. In this world in 2024, when we're so numb to everything, where it's like everything's been done before, things aren't even that interesting. We might have thought they were interesting 10 years ago or even 2 years ago, and now they're not. Making new discoveries, hard rock mining, new discoveries and hard rock mining exploration is exciting. It's a thrill. To find something new in 2024, you have to think differently. You have to see things where others did not see them before. And usually 90%, 95% of the time, it means going deeper. It means looking deeper in the earth than where people had previously looked before. Lots of stuff is found by drilling a little deeper, having a new interpretation on the model, building a new model, saying that no, the old model is not right. This is what actually happened. Here's how this was formed, and here's what might still be left to be discovered, right? Conventional wisdom had it that Idaho did not host porphyries, even though BC and the state right to the south of Idaho do host porphyries. There's porphyries in Arizona, there's porphyries in Mexico, but Idaho somehow got skipped over. The state of Idaho is known for silver mining, and even the Hercules property in particular, previous operators had focused on silver, the shallower silver, lead, zinc, call it, the CRD cap at surface, I guess. Let me add this, make it a little bigger. So Idaho is potentially the southern extension of the BC porphyry trend, okay? And Hercules silver right now, after 2023 drilling and the Barrick investment, which we're going to go over a little bit, they're working on age dating the rocks and sort of identifying, is this really the southern extension of the BC porphyry trend? This is from Brent Cook's presentation from VRIC. And you can see you have Mount Poly, Highland Valley, Copper Mountain, Red Chris, all these porphyries in BC. And if you look closely here, you can see that it extends, or at least that's the interpretation, possible interpretation. It extends down to Cuddy Mountain and then hooks into Oregon. So here's Washington State, here's Idaho, here's Oregon, and Hercules is right there next to Cuddy Mountain. So that's one potential interpretation. And actually, Barrick and Hercules are working to figure out if this is the same age rocks. And obviously, if it is, that's pretty interesting. That's pretty exciting, right? But it doesn't have to be. Porphyry systems tend to occur in clusters along trends. So if this is part of this BC porphyry trend, the Stikina copper belt, then it would make sense that there could be a cluster of porphyries in this area near Hercules, right? I don't know. Certainly the setting is right. I mean, the Ring of Fire, all the big porphyries in the world, a lot of them are found in South America, in Chile, in Peru, or even over here in, Indonesia or in BC. The Ring of Fire. Very active volcanic tectonic plate zone, a lot of subduction going on here millions and millions of years ago, and still to this day, right? And again, I'm not a geo. This is just stuff I've learned over the years, and for this video. Okay, I've used a lot of sources to put together these bullet points for this video. The Hercules property has all the hallmarks of a typical porphyry center. Okay, porphyry setting. You have the CRD, the silver lead zinc near surface. A bit farther away from maybe the porphyry center, you have copper skarns. You have epithermal silver, and this is again in this potential porphyry belt, the extension of the BC porphyry belt into Idaho. Just a lot of pieces of the puzzle putting together here, and they all fit together nicely, and it makes sense that this is a place where you could see some porphyries, some copper, moly porphyries. And now, so getting into the specifics of Hercules and where we're at now. So first of all, October 10th, 2023, everything changes. Company puts out hole 2305, 185 meters, grading 0.84% copper, 111 ppm moly, and a little sprinkle of silver in there. And what's really interesting, and I believe this, I know this is what got the attention of the likes of Barrick and Rio Tinto, the 45 meters of 1.94% copper in the upper bornite portion of the hole. And actually, let's go to 2305. Where are we? Yeah, so this is some of the good stuff here. Okay, this is the core from 2305, and this is some of that upper bornite portion that ran basically almost 2% copper for 45 meters, right? And the residual grade for the rest of the 140 meters was 0.5%, which is by the way, that's a very standard copper porphyry kind of grade, 0.4%, 0.5%. Actually 0.5% is pretty good, but it's the enriched portion, this 1.94% over 45 meters, that really got some attention, because when you get grades like that above 1% in a porphyry, so you have a huge scale of lower grade ore in the 0.3% to 0.5% range. But if you can find an enriched higher grade portion to add to that lower grade bulk tonnage sort of ore, it can be a game changer for the economics of the project. And so that's what really got a lot of attention, and eventually resulted in Barrick Gold investing $23.4 million. November 7th, the deal closed at 110 per share. Okay, and I'm going to skip ahead. I'm going to go faster. I'm going to skip some of this, and then I'm going to come back to it. Where is it? I thought I laid out the prices that Barrick invested in. Okay, anyway, I know it off the top of my head. I guess I forgot to copy and paste it from another document I was working on. So anyway, so they put in 23.4 million at 110. We found out that they bought 5.29 million shares on the open market. I think the average cost basis on those buys is somewhere between 60 and 75 cents. I don't know the exact number, and they didn't tell us, but it based upon the timing of everything and the market activity, that's what it adds up to. So call it 67 cents. Okay, just put it in the middle of that range there, right? Then they purchased some 11-cent warrants for 94 cents per share each, over $7 million there. So that was an average cost basis of $1.05 for those other 7 million shares. And then they're still holding 6.8 million warrants at 132. So all told, it's about a $35 million investment so far by Barrick to take just slightly more than a 15% stake in Hercules. So I did that off the top of my head. I had it broken down, and I forgot to put it on this final draft document. But anyway, you're going to get more videos from me. So maybe in the second one, I will remember to do that. Okay. So increasing copper. So here's what's really interesting where we're at now. Okay. A lot of people got very negative after holes 2308, 2311, 2321, and 2326 were announced. Okay, they were announced this month. First announcement January 2nd, second one January 22nd, right? A lot of people got negative, and there's a lot of bashing going on by people that don't really understand what's going on here. They're just seeing, oh, the first, the big hole that got the Barrick investment was 185 meters at 0.84%. Well, now they're following it up with half the grade, right, and narrower, right. It's not as good just based upon the length of the drill intercept and the grade. The subsequent holes were not as good as hole 2305. Well, there's a reason for that. Increasing copper grades in the upper bornite zone to the west and north. So based upon these holes drilled, the vectoring is showing increasing grades to the west and to the north. So it just so happened that they put the first hole here. Remember, in 2022, they did a 3DIP over a relatively small area of the property right over here. It identified this chargeability at depth, this deep chargeability. They drilled into the anomaly. They tested this chargeability at depth with these holes. 2305, 2308, 2311, 2321, and 2326. So 5 holes. They tested it, but it was pretty much blind drilling. Based upon the results of these holes, the first one they drilled at depth was the best one. It just so happened that way. But if you understand the setting of the property, here's this like copper skarn is over here. Here's some near surface, a lot of copper soil, anomalies over here to the east. So they felt like, well, we should drill east because that's where the copper in soils is. Well, if you understand that there's a fault here, and all this stuff over here might have been faulted up from somewhere deeper down over here, then you'd say, oh, actually, we should drill over here. But they didn't know that. They were figuring this out, and they didn't have the results of these 5 holes until they had them, which was just in the last month, right? Now, I could talk for over an hour going through all this stuff here, but I think the main takeaway is they have not found the early porphyry intrusion. They have not found the potassic core. They have not found the good stuff yet. The early mineral porphyry almost always contributes the majority of the copper in the porphyry system. So they haven't found that yet. But based upon the results, increasing grade here, maybe it is somewhere over here. Scale bar, 100 meters. So, I think they will, systematically step out over here, maybe 100 to 200 meters at a time with 3 rigs, maybe one up here, one over here, and just start stepping out 100 to 200 meters at a time. and see what's there. Now, in this news from January 22nd, yeah, I mean, the 100 meters of 0.76% is not as good as 2305, but this is a pretty good hole. I mean, this is a porphyry copper hole, 461 meters, 0.4% with 74 ppm moly. I mean, this is, if you drill 20 holes like this over a big enough area, you've got a major copper deposit, okay? You've got something quite worthwhile. But they buried the lead. New assay data and deep penetrating 3D IP suggest the potential early porphyry center may underlie the entire mapped exposure of Hercules rhyolite. So what is Hercules rhyolite? This is it. This light blue shaded area. Okay, so this whole area is prospective. IP data, so they're new, the 2023 3D IP, deep penetrating, going 850 meters deep, blanketing the whole property, 4,500 by 4,500 meters, shows an arcuate-shaped chargeability target that closely follows the trend of the Hercules rhyolite, and here's the kicker, roots into a vertical anomaly with coincident high conductivity and low resistivity, which may represent a potential early porphyry feeder intrusion. Okay, speculative statement, forward-looking statement, big which may is a big if, but holy shit, that is a big deal. High conductivity, vertical anomaly, potential early porphyry feeder intrusion. Now, they don't show us where it is. They're not showing all their cards yet on this new 3D IP. But they're telling us potential early porphyry center right here in the freaking map. Okay, here's 2305. Here's the scale bar. I don't know, 300, 400, 500 meters west, northwest, somewhere over here. I mean, it's here in the map, but they're not showing us the detail. They're still working on that 3D IP and overlaying it with the 2022 IP, right? There's a lot of technical work ongoing to prepare this and optimize the 2024 drill program with the help of Barrick. But this is big. This is a big freaking deal. And this is why, so when people were bashing the news on January 2nd and January 2nd and January 22nd, they weren't really understanding more deeply the full picture here. This hole and this bornite portion, this higher grade bornite portion that's found in the upper parts of every hole drilled to date, of the deeper holes. Here, let's go to the section maps. Okay, hole 2321 has it. Higher grades in the upper portion. Hole 2311, which is like the worst one of the 5, has it. 2326 has it. This upper portion with mostly bornite, 100 meters, 0.76%, right? 2305 has it. Of course it has it. And here you can see 2326, which was drilled south, and 2305, which was drilled north, grade increasing north. 2308, see, it has this upper portion, this higher grade upper portion. So all these deeper holes have it. So this higher grade bornite in the upper portion is consistent throughout all the deeper holes. So where does it widen And where does it maybe even get even higher grade than hole 2305? Well, they're saying test it north and west. And that's where the majority of the copper is going to be. The early mineral porphyry. Okay, the feeder intrusion, right? That's where it's going to be. Here's just some notes I made. I'm not going to go over all this again because it's just too much to do in one video. I watched this video from Crescat on Friday, and he was very positive on Hercules overall, but he did present one potential risk, and I think this is important. Erosion. It's possible that some of the porphyry could be eroded away, like here, right? So the good stuff just kind of was weathered away over millions of years at surface. And there is some evidence, so this is a risk, there is some evidence in some of the holes, 2321, I think, and maybe 2311, there some evidence this red conglomerate may have eroded some of that nice bornite portion that's found in 2326 and 2305. But when you get away from it, well, you get away from it to the west and north. When you get away from it, grades get better and it thickens, right? But that is one thing that could definitely go wrong. Erosion. You want something that's found intact deeper down, okay, where you get a little sniff at the surface and then the core, the sweet spot, is deeper down and it's fully intact, okay? And the zonation. So this deposit, the Hercules deposit project, it follows the classic, metal zonation of a porphyry deposit. Silver, lead, zinc is farther away from the early intrusion than moly and gold. Now, we don't have much gold here. I don't think we have any gold. So this is a little bit different suite of metals. And then the deeper down, the core of it is the copper. So copper grades get better closer to the source, closer to the early porphyry intrusion. Silver grades would be better farther away from it. And when we look at the results of hole 2311, this one had the highest silver grades by far. And look at where it was drilled. It was drilled farthest east. So further away from the core, the early porphyry intrusion, the potassic core, the higher grades, the sweet spot, higher copper, closer. So again, it's following this zonation pattern. So all signs are pointing towards stepping out over here. All right. I mean, I could say it 10 more times, but I think you get the picture. Okay. And so what are the next steps? Well, they're refining their 3D IP model. They're putting in all the drill intercepts from 2022 and 2023 into a leapfrog model. They're modeling this thing. They're looking at it in 3D and figuring out exactly where to vector into that really good stuff where the majority of the copper is going to be. That's what they're trying to figure out now. They've had the sniffs. There's smoke everywhere. The whole property is smoking. Where's the fire? Where is that core, that heat center? All right. So that's the work they're doing now. And then May comes, 20,000 meter drill program, 3 to 4 rigs, systematically stepping out to the west and north of hole 2305. And here's the thing that he gave some clues, Chris, in the 2 interviews with me, and also in this news on the 26th, saying that it may underlie the entire mapped exposure of the Hercules rhyolite, but there may be additional porphyry centers, right? So all of this stuff is vectoring towards maybe one porphyry center. But what if you look at the entire property? Could there be more? And not just over here. Maybe there could be other porphyry centers here. And they've been staking. They've added ground. They're still staking, right? So there's room. There's room to grow, and that's what's really exciting here. So not only are they vectoring in on this vertical structure that they're seeing in the 3D IP, but there's other potential for more porphyry centers because porphyries occur in clusters, as we've talked about already. So let's get into valuation and what's possible here. I wrote a bunch of stuff. I'll post this all, so I'm not going to read it all right now. But the tenor, the grades of that upper bornite portion in holes 2305, 2326, even 2321 are very encouraging. The tenor, they're not even in the potassic. They're not even in that sweet spot where most of the copper is going to be, and they're finding 2% copper grades. So this could be a very special new discovery in a great state, a great location, tier 1 jurisdiction. I mean, the state of Idaho is a top 10 mining jurisdiction, globally. On a global scale, it is actually top 10. It has been ranked that before by the Fraser people, and they have state land. Most of their claims are on state land with grandfathered surface mining rights. So this is the best mineral and mining claims that you can get in the US. They have it. They have it there at Hercules. They've got the best stuff. Leviathan, that's the name of this copper porphyry that they've discovered with hole 2305. The bornite rich layer at the top of the system sets it apart. This is not a typical copper porphyry. This is something special where there's overprinting. The grades were increased by late stage, hydrothermal flows. And this is beyond my pay grade, but I took some of this from different sources and compiled it together, and this is what I come up with, okay? And the key, this is the key. So just forget about all the geobabble. The shallow upgrade appears to be thickening and increasing in grade to the north and west. We have proof. We have the drill results. We have the proof. We have the drill results. It's there, plain as day, and it's in purple. Okay? So if the enrichment zone gets thicker as they step out with 2024 drilling, then it's game on. What could it be worth? It's hard to say, but it could be worth many multiples of the current valuation. Okay, and I think the B word could come into play, okay? Because look at the comps. The Resolution deposit in Arizona, this is a multi-billion-dollar deposit. The two biggest mining companies in the world operated by Rio Tinto. No accident that they're here in Idaho trying to get involved too. The two biggest mining companies in the world have a JV on this project. This is a mega copper porphyry. Still in the permitting stage, by the way. And then Philo, I think Philo is like 2.6 billion market cap, and that's not even in production. So those are the comps. Like those are what we're shooting for, and obviously those are big. Those are big deposits. Those are big projects. Those are way more advanced than what we have right now. But over time, we might get there. So that's sort of the upside. So why did Barrick pull the trigger on Hercules? I've never seen Barrick invest $35 million like that after one hole. I mean, yes, this project has some work, it has some history. It offered them context to understand what might be going there when hole 2305 was announced, but still, it's one deeper hole. And they pulled the trigger and invested 35 million Canadian dollars in a very short period of time. It's because porphyries offer both size and profitability. They're one of the few deposit types that have the scale to attract some of the world's largest mining companies, okay? And Idaho has been overlooked. And I think all the porphyries in Arizona have pretty much been found. I mean, there might be some new discoveries to be made there, but they're going to be really deep, okay? If there's new stuff found in Arizona, it's going to be 1,000 meters deep, okay? It's not going to be found shallow 100, 200 meters. No, the state has been picked over, right? It's been picked over many times. So Idaho, this is a potential. I don't think we can confirm it as a new copper belt, but signs are pointing that it could be. The Hercules copper belt, it's new. It's not picking over the same project in Arizona that's had 7 operators. Okay, this is a new discovery. Forget about the near surface silver at Hercules, the mining, from the 1880s and and the 1890s in the near surface stuff. Forget about that. That was the warm up. That was the appetizer. The deeper copper porphyry discovery is where it's at, and that's what's new about this, and that this could be a new copper belt, and that's why Barrick and Rio Tinto are so intrigued and so excited and moving so quickly and so aggressively. Okay. So there's a lot of staking going on, 40-mile trend. But yeah, it is early days. There's a lot we don't know. And all of exploration is very high risk. You spend money with no guarantee of getting any of it back. And very often companies could spend millions of dollars and then walk away from that project. They just put that money into doing IP, into doing soil sampling, into doing mapping, into drilling, and then they don't find anything, they walk away. Or they find a little sniff and then there's no meat there, right? And they walk away. So all of exploration is very high risk. There's a lot of possibility for failure, but should the thesis of improving grades and a potential early porphyry intrusion prove correct, I think this could be wrapped up this year. Okay, I mean, and that's a very forward-looking statement. But if there's a hole better than 2305 coming this summer, especially if it's substantially better than 2305, I think that there's a transaction there. I think Barrick just says, I want the whole thing. Thank you. We'll take the keys. Here's your check. And who knows how big the check is going to be. It'll be based upon how good the results are, right? So the greatest porphyries in the world. So these are just 4 that stand out. One of which is in Utah. Oh, I don't know why I forgot this. Just massive super deposits. Okay, 76 billion pounds of copper. They're mining 2.5 billion pounds of copper per year. Average grade of Grasberg, 1.2% copper, half gram gold, with, reserves of 31 billion pounds of copper, 26 million ounces of gold, 121 million ounces of silver. There's companies that are doing everything possible, bending over backwards, trying to get a resource of just 100 million ounces of silver because they think that will be very valuable. Well, the silver is just like the hors d'oeuvre here. Okay, the main course is the copper and gold, just massive amounts of copper and gold at Grasberg. Extremely profitable deposit to mine. Long history there with Freeport and the government of Indonesia, and these are all super porphyries, right? The resolution one is very deep, 1,500 meters deep, but 1.5% copper average grade, and it's massive, right? 40 billion pounds will be mined over 40 years at a very, very good copper grade. Could the Leviathan be like one of the super porphyries? Yes, definitely possible. The name is a good name for a super porphyry. However, to prove that, it will require years of drilling, lots of economic studies, mine planning, and the best case from the first hole into the new discovery to first mine output and production, probably 10 years. The average timeline is 17 years. So that's a risk all that time. 10 years best case, average case 17 years, worst case 25, 30 years, or it never happens, right? So those are risks, big risks. I kind of, talked about it already. I think that this next phase of drilling is absolutely critical. Can they show more grade and scale? And if they're able to, I think it happens very quickly. I don't think that the Hercules management team is going to be taking this one through the feasibility and permitting stage. I think that this is a project that, if it is what it looks like it could be, this is a project for a super major, a very big global mining firm like Barrick or Rio Tinto. Okay. And yeah, so that's it for this video. I think I covered a lot. There's still some more, though. I'm going to tease you. I still got some more information. This was a little bit more high level. So there's still more to come. But you can tell I'm very enthusiastic about this. I am a shareholder, so that's my conflict of interest. Definitely, if big.v goes up, I stand to profit. So I'm talking my book. Again, back to this the disclaimer and the forward-looking statements. Please do your own due diligence, and it's your money and your responsibility. Thanks a lot for tuning into this. Thanks for being a premium subscriber. Look for more content from me over the next week or so. And I hope you have a powerful trading day and a great week ahead.